This video is going to explain how to take a template for an assignment and distribute that template to your students through Google Docs. And so on my screen here I have Google Drive, and I have a template for a reflection I did with my advisory on empathy. And so if we look at that file here, the top I put instruction. I put a few questions for them to reflect on, and then I put instructions for them to use the space below in order to write the reflection. So this was the template that I started with here, and I just saved this in a folder I made for assignment templates, and I'll continue to add templates there as I go along. And then after I have my template, I'm going to go to Hapara, and so I can go to that from my portal here, or I can also go to that from my apps here. Okay, and so once we're into Hapara Teacher Dashboard, you want to go into the class that you want to distribute that file to. So I'm going to go into my advisory. And here I see all of the students that are in my advisory. Now in the left corner you're going to see a small little icon that looks like two miniature pages stacked on each other. So if I mouse over that, I see that that's the Smart Copy button. And so Smart Copy is what actually takes that file and sends it out to all of your students. So I'm going to say that I have an existing document. I'm going to go ahead and find that empathy reflection. Alright, so you see here I have a bunch coming up because I've already distributed it, but here's the one that's just called empathy reflection. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. So I've got my document, and I'll click next. Now it wants to know, how do I want to copy it? So what I did with my class was I chose just the straight copy, and that takes the template and makes a separate copy for each student, and it puts it inside of their course folder. Then you could do shared read only, share read comment, or share read write. So here we're going to do copy and click next, and here you want a title. So it puts empathy reflection by default, but then I can use wildcard characters, and what that is, I can use the %L for last name. We see it added, so Smith as an example, and then I could do %F for first name. So now the documents all start the same, but they end with the student's name. That is very handy for when you're here in your Google Drive and I just search empathy reflection, because now at a glance I can see all of their documents. Okay, so once you've got that, you hit next, and then you say who you want to send it out to. And so by default it does the whole class, and then next. And then what happens if there's already a document there in its place? So for here I would say leave the existing document and don't put a copy. And so essentially if I click this, it will put a document in any students that may not have that document. And then here's the final review to make sure your settings are okay. And then I would click Start Copy, and that will go ahead and start to take my template and place one in each of my students' folders, giving them access to it, read and write, and then giving me access to it, so that if I went back into my Hapara dashboard, I would see here all of the files. The other thing to note is that when you're in your Google Drive, you should have a folder for your class. So here's my advisory, and when I go into it, I have all of their class folders. And so Chris will have in his Google Drive just this one folder. They'll each have just the one folder, but then on my Google Drive I have all of them here. And if you don't see your class folder, you want to click on Shared with Me, and you want to look for your class folder on this list. And once you find it, then you just want to drag it up to your My Drive and drop it there, and then you'll have your class folder.